Back in October 2014, the actress Jennifer Lawrence said this to Vanity Fair, and with those few words, she completely reframed a story that had been tearing across the internet. Her words just cut right through all the noise, all the celebrity gossip, and pointed to something much, much darker.
And that's what this explainer is all about. We're going to break down the event that became known as Celebgate. We'll dig into exactly how it happened, and maybe more importantly, what it showed us about our own relationship with privacy, with technology, and yeah, with the dark corners of the internet.
So what really happened? Well, the story breaks on August 31st, 2014, and it immediately gets a couple of nicknames: Celebgate, or the much cruder one, the Fappening.
On that day, a gigantic collection of private photos just gets dumped online. We're talking about more than 100 high-profile people, almost all of them women. And these weren't just any photos. They were explicit images, stolen directly from their personal accounts.
And the way it spread, I mean, it was like wildfire. It started out on the anonymous site 4chan, but within hours, links were already hitting the front page of Reddit. From there, it just exploded. Mainstream news all over the world picked it up. And even though Reddit eventually banned the main subreddit a week later, it was too late. The content was out and the damage had been done.
So this obviously raised a massive question. How in the world did hackers pull off a breach this big? Well, the answer wasn't some huge brute force attack on a company like Apple. No, it was actually way more personal.
And this is the really crucial point here. The hackers didn't discover some secret backdoor into Apple servers. Apple looked into it right away and confirmed that their systems, things like iCloud, they were not breached. The weak link was somewhere else entirely.
Instead of some complex code breaking, they used a classic, really deceptive playbook. First, they did their homework, gathering personal email addresses for their targets. Then came the bait, super convincing fake emails, the kind that look exactly like a real security alert from Apple or Google. Those emails had a link, and that link led to a cloned login page. It looked real, but the second a victim typed in their username and password, boom, the hackers had it.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Apple's own statement confirmed it was a targeted attack. See, the hackers weren't really exploiting a flaw in the technology. They were exploiting human trust. They were hacking people, one at a time.
Now, a crime like this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. To really get why these stolen pictures spread so far, so fast, you have to look at the online culture that was already there, a culture that had created a ready-made audience and even a market for them.
We're talking about the culture of revenge porn. It's a term for publishing someone's intimate photos without their consent, usually as some kind of, revenge. And while the name itself might not be a specific crime on the books, the act definitely is. It falls under things like cyberstalking laws, which carry pretty serious penalties.
And this was not a new thing. Years before Celebgate, you had sites like Hunter Moore's IsAnyoneUp.com that basically normalized this whole disgusting idea. Then you had guys like Kevin Bulliard who took it to another level. He didn't just host the photos. He created an extortion racket, charging victims hundreds of dollars to take their own pictures down. He ended up getting an 18-year prison sentence for that. So this was the world that the Celebgate photos were leaked into.
Okay, so let's shift to the public reaction, because the debate that blew up was almost as big as the hack itself. Was this just another celebrity scandal, or was it something much, much worse?
Jennifer Lawrence, who really became one of the main faces of this, just flat out rejected the scandal idea. She basically said, look, being famous doesn't mean I give up my right to privacy. It's my body, it's my choice. And yet, her powerful plea for privacy was met with this tidal wave of public curiosity. Just look at this chart. You can see Google searches for her name just absolutely exploding in August 2014. Every single one of those searches was someone actively trying to find the very photos she was begging people not to look at.
And a lot of media outlets, honestly, were complicit. They framed it as a scandal. And some even started shaming the victims, asking why they would take those pictures in the first place. It was classic victim blaming. Some websites even posted links telling people where to find the images.
The thing is, even the platforms that were hosting all this knew how bad it was. A system administrator at Reddit later admitted that the site hit all-time traffic records because of the leak. And these were, in his own words, milestones he was ashamed to share publicly.
So,
What was the long-term fallout here? This event didn't just blow over. It forced some real, actual changes in how major websites operate, and it brought some very serious legal trouble for the guys who did it.
One of the biggest changes happened at Reddit. After basically playing whack-a-mole trying to take down all the images, they finally just banned the whole subreddit. But more importantly, they eventually changed their entire site-wide policy to explicitly ban non-consensual intimate media. For a platform famous for its hands-off approach, this was a massive shift.
At the same time, the FBI was running a huge, multi-year investigation they called Operation Hackerazzi. And it worked. They brought 5 men to justice. As you can see, they were from all over the country. Every single one pled guilty to felony computer hacking, and they all got federal prison time, with the longest sentence, 34 months, going to Christopher Brannon from Virginia.
You know, in the end, this whole thing forced a really difficult conversation. And this quote from the Observer newspaper kind of sums it up perfectly. The technology itself wasn't really the villain. All it did was strip away the normal social rules we follow in the real world, and what was left was a darker side of human nature, just snarling out into the open.
Which leaves us with one last pretty provocative thought. It's been about a decade. Platforms have changed their rules, laws have gotten tougher. But has the underlying culture really changed? Or has that darker side just found new, more hidden shadows to move into online?